This is an article on the supposed oldest and largest shrine considered in Native American history. So, this is a Wikipedia article on Monk's Mound. Monk's Mound is the largest pre-Columbian earthwork in the Americas and the largest pyramid north of Meso America. The beginning of its construction dates from 900 to 955 CE, located at the Cahokia Mounds UNESCO World Heritage Site near Collinsville, Illinois. The mound size was calculated in 1988 as about 100 feet, 30 meters high, 955 feet or 291 meters long, including the access ramp at the southern end, and 775 feet or 236 meters wide. This makes Monk's Mound roughly the same size at its base as the Great Pyramid of Giza, 13.1 acres and 5.3 hectares. The perimeter of its base is larger than the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan. As a platform mound, the earthwork supported a wooden structure on the summit. Unlike Egyptian pyramids, which were built of stone, the platform mound was constructed almost entirely of layers of basket-transported soil and clay. Because of this construction and its flattened top, over the years, it has retained rainwater within the structure. This has caused slumping, the avalanche-like sliding of large sections of the sides at the highest part of the mound. Its design dimensions would have been significantly smaller than its present extent, but recent excavations have revealed that slumping was a problem even while the mound was being made. Construction and abandonment. Construction of Monk's Mound by the Mississippian culture began about 900 to 950 CE on a site that had already been occupied by buildings. The original concept seems to have been a much smaller mound, now buried deep within the northern end of the present structure. At the northern end of the summit plateau, as finally completed around 1100 CE, is an area raised slightly higher still, on which was placed a building over 100 feet or 30 meters long, the largest in the entire Cahokia Mounds urban zone. Excavations on the southwest corner found that several large ceremonial buildings had burned around 1150 CE. Botanical remains from Monk's Mound suggest it was built much more quickly than previously thought, perhaps on the order of several consecutive decades, providing an alternative view of its construction history. Deep excavations in 2007 confirmed findings from earlier test borings that several types of earth and clay from different sources had been used successfully or successively. Study of various sites suggest that the stability of the mound was improved by the incorporation of bulwarks, some made of clay, others of sods from the Mississippi floodplain, which permitted steeper slopes than the use of earth alone. The structure rises in 4 terraces to a height of 100 feet or 30 meters with a rectangular base covering nearly 15 acres or 6.1 high and containing 22 million cubic feet of abode, carried basket by basket to the site. The most recent section of the mound, added sometime before 1200 CE, is the lower terrace at the south end, which was added after the northern end had reached its full height. It may partly have been intended to help minimize the slumping, which by then was already underway. Today, the western half of the summit plateau is significantly lower than the eastern. This is the result of massive slumping beginning about 1200 CE. This also caused the west end of the big building to collapse. It may have led to the abandonment of the mound's high status, following which various wooden buildings were erected on the south terrace and garbage was dumped at the foot of the mound. By about 1300, the urban society at Cahokia Mounds was in serious decline. When the eastern side of the mound started to suffer serious slumping, it was not repaired. European settlers. There is no evidence of significant Native American settlement in the Cahokia Mounds urban area for hundreds of years after about 1400 CE. In 1735, French missionaries built a chapel at the west end of the south terrace of the mound. The River l'Abbe mission served a small Inuit community until they were forced to abandon the area by rival tribes about 1752. In 1776, during the American Revolutionary War, a trading post called the Canteen was established next to the mound, by then known as the Great Knob. It lasted only until 1784. In the early 19th century, the land was claimed by people of French descent, and Nicholas Jarrett had a deed for most of it. He donated some to a small group of French Trappist monks who settled on one of the smaller mounds from 1809. They took advantage of the big mound's terraces to grow produce, which was elevated above the danger of flooding. Wheat on the upper levels, garden produce on the south terrace. During their short stay in the area, which lasted until 1813, Henry Brackenridge visited the site and published the first detailed description of the largest mound. He named it Monk's Mound. In 1831, T. Amos Hill bought the plot, including the mound. He built a house on the upper terrace and sank a well. This work revealed various archaeological remains, including human bones. Archaeology. Thomas I. Ramey, who bought the site in 1864, began an era more responsible ownership and encouraged archaeological investigation. Many artifacts were found at the near surface. Ramey had a tunnel made nearly 30 meters or 98 feet into the north face of the mound, but it revealed nothing of historic interest. By this time, people were beginning to consider the mound more within its context. A survey made for local dentist Dr. John R. Patrick in the 1880s marked the beginning of modern understanding of the Cahokia site as a whole and its relationship to other sites in the area. Many archaeological investigations of the mound have taken place since then. One of the biggest began in the 1960s when Nelson Reed, a local businessman and historian of native cultures, obtained permission to conduct excavations. He was trying to locate the high-status building, temple, or palace presumed to have stood at the peak of Monk's Mound. By drilling cores at various points on the mound, his team revealed the various stages of its construction from the 10th to 12th centuries CE. Remains of a fairly recent house, presumably Hill's, were found, but no temple. In 1970, Reed returned to work at the mound and adopted a new strategy, scraping away the top soil from several 5-meter squared, 54 square feet patches with a backhoe to a depth of around 60 centimeters or 24 inches. This quickly revealed various features, including what appeared to be the outline of the temple. Further backhoe work in 1971 confirmed the shape of the presumed temple at over 30 meters, 98 feet long, the largest building found at Cahokia. This technique was opposed by professional archaeologists because it destroyed several hundred years of stratification over most of the mound's summit, which was the evidence by which they could place and evaluate artifacts and construction. Reed's backhoe excavations revealed other significant features, such as a hole which seemed to have been the socket for a post about 3 feet 1 meter in diameter. The dramatic finds encouraged the governor of Illinois to budget for an expansion of Cahokia Mounds State Park. Preservation. From the time the original urban society collapsed, the Great Mound became overgrown with trees, the roots of which helped stabilize its steep slopes. In the 20th century, researchers removed the trees in the course of work at the mound and park preparation. Reduction of groundwater levels in the Mississippi floodplain during the 1950s caused the mound to dry rot, damaging the clay layers within. With heavy rainfall occurred, it caused new slumping starting about 1956. The increasingly violent weather of recent decades has exacerbated the problem. In 1984 through 5, there were several slumps, and the state government brought in surplus soil to make repairs to the major scar on the eastern side. A decade later, there was further slumping on the western side, so irregular that repair was impractical. Drains were installed to reduce the effects of heavy rain. It was during this process that workers discovered a mass of stone deep within the mound. The repairs of the 1980s and 1990s were only partly successful. In 2004 through 5, more serious slumping episodes occurred. These demonstrated that adding new earth to repair the major slump on the east side had been a mistake. Experts decided to take a new approach. In 2007, backhoes were used to dig out the entire mass of earth from this slump and another at the northwest corner to a level beyond the internal slippage zone. Engineers created a series of anti-slip steps across the exposed face before the original earth, minus the imported repair material, was replaced at its original level. To avoid introducing water deep into the mound's interior, the work was carried out in high summer and as quickly as possible. In parallel with the repair work, teams of archaeologists studied the evidence that was being revealed. The eastern sliding zone penetrated more deeply within the mound than originally estimated, and the excavation had to be very large, 50 feet or 15 meters wide, to a height of 65 feet or 20 meters above the mound base. This heightened concerns about a conflict between conservation and archaeology.